Please, please, everybody calm down. It's me, the face of Welcome to Wrexham, Hollywood superstar. I'm back again for another video, don't worry. Wrexham have done back-to-back-to-backs. It's first time ever. I predicted them to finish 11th in League One. Not my finest work. Now, my thinking were that they're coming into a very tough league, team-wise. Birmingham, Bolton, Huddersfield, Barnsley, Charlton, Blackpool. Like I said, that was shown in my Hollywood debut, there's 8 ex-Premier League sides in this division. Financially, I didn't realise the superpower that Wrexham were at the time. Now it's much more aware. I don't think, unless you were in Wrexham at the time, you had no real idea the level that it were at. And I do think they've taken advantage of a very poor league by getting promoted. Like, teams that you typically expect to be a lot better in this division. But that's what successful teams do. They take advantage of situations that they're in. Regardless of how much money you've got, and regardless of how much money that you spend, getting promoted is not easy. Regardless how much you've got. And I'm going straight into the finance side of it, because it's something that you can't escape, really. If you are Wrexham at the minute, you just cannot escape getting beaten by this brush of spending so much money, you're buying league, etc. When in reality, they're making so much more than anybody else that it's warranted anyway. The revenue growth over the last couple of years sat at about 7-8 million quid in 2021. It went up to just over 15 in 2022. And then in 2023, which they're in League 2, they broke the record for revenue generated in that division 3 times over. If you don't know Kieran Maguire is football finance expert, he's brilliant. He sums it up quite well, so people with like mash for brains can understand it. They're the first club in League 2 history to earn over 10 million quid in revenue, or 15, or 20, or 25. That's how much money they've got. In comparison to other sides that typically make more money, Bradford, who just are a big club for League 2 and have been for the number of years that they've been there, Wimbledon, who live in a very posh part of London and can charge extortionate prices. You know what I mean? So they're making a lot of revenue as well. But Wrexham have got that much more than them. And this is something that everybody focuses on with Wrexham, but you can debunk it very easily. The wages are obviously ridiculous. They have been for the last couple of years. Comparison to teams that they're playing, they are effectively buying league, but with legal washed money. They're not just chucking loads at it and getting found out like Man City, for example. Wrexham have got to the money. So yeah, they had an £11 million wage bill in League 2, which is, again, almost double that of Bradford's, who have got double their attendance as a Wrexham. But the most important thing, wages as a percentage of revenue, Wrexham are spending 41% of their total revenue on wages. And that's it. You're looking at Salford. Again, Salford are a pub side that have gone completely wrong way on how to run a football club as opposed to Wrexham. Class of 92 just going in and chucking loads of brass at a semi-pro side. And they're spending 168% of the revenue on wages. Wrexham are spending 40%. I have never seen a successful side have such a low wage bill in comparison to the revenue ever. 40% of revenue is nuts. If you've got it, flaunt it. You know what I mean? No one can sit there, seriously, and tell me if Ryan and Rob did not come into your club and do the exact same thing, you'd be doing this. Not one person can say that. So how can you then moan at them for doing it right way? It's nice to see a club succeed for once, as opposed to Reading, Bury, Scunthorpe, all these sides that have had so much shit through EFL. At least Wrexham are doing something and succeeding for once, properly as well. Yeah, they loaned the club a load of money that's now been paid back, but they're making that much money from a documentary. It's such a different way of thinking that no one else had really done before successfully, apart from Sunderland to an extent. But Wrexham have taken it to such a new level. We have the revenue coming from overseas, majority of it coming from North America, Canada. Why would they not spend this money to try and get promoted? Why wouldn't they? I thought for a long time that the recruitment strategy of Wrexham is quite flawed and could be something that holds them back long term. It's just effectively bringing in older boys for league that they're in that are way too good for that level and on a fat wedge. But it keeps working. This video is sponsored by Match Bingo. This is only available in England, so any of my friends from across the pond watching Wrexham, unfortunately this is not available to you yet. It's a mixture of football and bingo. If you get a line and you're pressing little bell, bingo, then you win. Or a full house, for example. But how was it drawn? Because there's no guy rolling the balls. It's like a throw-in or a corner or a left-footed goal. Post-hit, stuff like that. Also, for Championship Playoff Final, shipping out of Sunderland, I've got my own separate game. If you scan the code or use link at top of the description, obviously if you deposit £5 you get £10 free as well. But there's a 350 quid prize pot specifically for us. For my goats, for my people. Only way you can get to it is by scanning code or using link. That's the only way you can get to it. Like I said, if you deposit £5 you get £10 for free, so you turn 5 into 15 like this. There is a public game as well, but mine's better and prize pool's bigger, so you just would use mine, wouldn't you? Thank you as always to Match Bingo, and I'm excited for that game. Wrexham's transfers this season, and into an already aging squad, realistically, when you look at it, they're bringing Jay Rodriguez, John Daddy Bodvarsson, but more importantly, Matty James, I think that's best signing that they've made in a long, long time. Probably one of the best that they've made since this takeover happened. Matty James is a Rolls Royce for this division. He links play up well. He controls tempo at game. He decides what happens, effectively. Just sits in middle, picks pockets out. He's so brilliant. His weighted pass is perfect. Intelligent footballer. Exactly what you need for a successful side, really. An old-headed middle that can control tempo at game. Because when you actually look at underlying stats for League One, Wrexham's expected goals are not that high. On goals for, they're expected to finish 12th. Look who's top of that list, by the way. I hate this club. And on expected goals against, they finished 8th. So they don't excel in either area at pitch according to underlying stats. Again, when you take into consideration their expected goals for and against, Wrexham were predicted to finish 8th. Or the performances warranted an 8th place finish. But experience, and probably the average age at squad being so high, I think is what's helped them get over the line in a lot of these games. And some very dodgy decisions from refs. You know, massive squad that they've got, and the experience that they've got off bench, and the quality that they've got off bench. Someone like Fletcher, for example, who's come on and scored a lot of goals late on in league, that's what can get you over the line. Like, you look at 7th and 8th on this list, you've got Barnsley and Wrexham. Like, my club, Barnsley and Wrexham. Barnsley have expected to score 0.09 goals a game more, but they'd have finished 7th and 8th, respectively, on performances. But when you look at the minutes that are most scored in for both these clubs, for Barnsley and Wrexham, 60 minutes onwards is where I'm looking here. The time, roughly, when you start bringing your subs on, players that can influence a game off bench, a little bit of quality that you need to come and see a game out. In the last half an hour of games, Wrexham have scored 25 goals and conceded 8. That is a plus 17 goal difference in the last half an hour of games. In that same time span, Barnsley have scored 20, so 5 less, but they've conceded 42 goals in the last half an hour of games. 42. That's a negative 22 goal difference in the last half an hour for Barnsley. So for two sides there, Barnsley and Wrexham were neck and neck in terms of the performance level that's expected of them with the expected goals. They've both got the quality there to start games well, but Wrexham have got players of a certain calibre and loads of experience to come off bench and see games out, which is why there is a 31-point gap between second and wherever the Barnsley finished, I don't even know. Now, defensively, they are fantastic. They are very good defensively. I went home and away. It's the first time I've been to Wrexham on a Tuesday night, and I thought we had quite a good game. To say it's Barnsley's worst performance in 22 years in the league, I thought we played all right. But defensively, these are head and shoulders above what we are, and ultimately that's what's ended up being difference. I've just bought my season ticket for Barnsley for next year. It's my 16th one. I've been going for 17 years. I only missed one through COVID. I've spent majority of that time watching us in Championship, more recently in League One. But defensively, these are one of the best sides that I've seen in this division in a long, long time. Very good. They're so organised. They're very well drilled and structured. There's minimal weaknesses I can see with them from a defensive point of view. Regardless of what the expected goal says, when I have watched Wrexham, I think it's borderline impossible to break them down. Because if they're going to defend quite tight and compact in a low block, I think they're very tough to break down. Which does, again, help when you've got Matty James stood in middle of all of them, conducting it all. He's just stood there doing this, deciding what everybody does. He's a manager stood on pitch, Matty James. He's so important. So I do think that even if they were to make no signings realistically, this side would still survive in Championship. I feel like the bottom end of that division is quite poor. And part of that, with the last 2 years, all 3 promoted sides from League One have survived the first year up. So, but as we all know, they're not just going to go into Championship and make numbers up, are they? They've got loads of brass. They're going to spend it. And again, why wouldn't they? When they were in League 2, they're generating more money than half at Championship. Why would they not spend this money? We don't even know what the figures are for League 1 season until this time next year. Won't be surprised to see another 10-15 million quid chucked on top of what they're already making, which is a disgraceful amount of money. The capabilities with wages is going to be one of the highest in division. Apart from like your 3 sides coming down that are coming with 100 million quid from Premier League, it's going to be one of the highest in division, the amount that they can spend on wages, which is why you're seeing him be linked with Tom Kearney at 50 grand a week. It's not going to be 50 grand a week. I think everybody knows that. But still, with ballpark £30 million wage bill, that's what, 15-20 grand on average per position? It's not going to be a million miles off promotion chasing Championship wage bill anyway. And if they had to stick with same recruitment strategy as they are now, like, why wouldn't they at this point? It's worked 3 years in a row, so why wouldn't you just keep doing it? Getting experienced lads in that are way too good for the league that they're in, or top players for the league that they're in, because obviously Premier League to Championship gap is biggest one ever. So it's not same as other leagues, Premier League and Championship gap. There's a lot of players that have got 1 year left and you could buy them for very cheap, or are out of contract to end of season. Tom Kearney, Windass, Ben Mee, like Shelby. There's a lot of these players that aren't going to be on huge wages at minute, that Wrexham definitely couldn't afford, But also they're at that age in life where it's like, this is one last contract, get in, one last big one. And you could probably entice them because of that over some other clubs. Them type of players that are knocking on, that aren't on like 80 plus grand a week, you know, like Cresswell or something to West Ham, like that's ridiculous. But certain players that aren't on disgraceful money that Wrexham definitely couldn't get near, that are coming near end, but could still push them up table very quickly. Because Championship is a different ballgame. Like, player-wise, personnel-wise, financially, it's a completely different world to all divisions below it. And then when you get to Premier League, it's we're not even speaking English up there. It's completely different. If Wrexham do want to challenge at top end of this division straight away, they've got to change practically every player that's on pitch. Honestly, if they want to challenge at right at the top, they've got to change effectively all of them. If you look at playoffs for this season, Sheffield United, recently down from Premier League, they've spent like 3 out of the last 5 years in Premier League. Hundreds and hundreds of millions. Hamer, a bit best player that Wrexham have ever seen in their entire lives, if he were to go there. So that's the level that you're currently at. Sunderland are averaging mid-30s thousands for attendances. Historically, a Premier League side forever. Loads and loads of major trophies. Huge sides. Like Coventry and Bristol City as well. They're no mugs. If you actually look at Coventry's side, or the loss of Sunderland in playoff semi-final, if you actually look at the Coventry team, every single one of these players, Van Eyup, Thomas, Kitchen, De Silva, Sheaf, Graham, Sakamoto, Rodoni, Wright and Mason Clark, every single one of them starts for Wrexham. Easily. Every single one of them would probably be pushing as one of the best players Wrexham have ever had. And this weren't good enough to get to Wembley. Never mind to get promoted. Just to get to Wembley, this size deemed not good enough. So that shows the level. And that shows the amount of change that's needed very quickly. Financially, obviously no danger. They're going to be able to bring players in. They're going to be able to make a lot of the changes that they probably need to. The only problem is, I think, getting rid of some of the players that they've currently got is going to be a big struggle. Especially some of the lads that are on longer contracts on big money that are already deemed not good enough. Jay Rodriguez has been there 5 minutes and he's already probably deemed not good enough. The level that they're trying to get to. James McLean's not good enough. Jack Marriott's not good enough. Ollie Palmer, Paul Mullin. All these boys aren't good enough. And they're all on long contracts. And with the promotion clauses and the doubling of wages here and then consistently, Paul Mullin's probably gone from 5 grand a week in non-league. He might be pushing 15, 20 grand for another couple of years for a player that can't even get in this squad in League One. These are League One players. This is the only way that it's going to halt them. Because no one's going to pay these boys out. No one is going to come and buy a Paul Mullin off him. Nobody's going to pay as much as Wrexham are paying him. Because he's a mid-table, bottom-end League One player. So unless you can send all these boys out on loan, which they could do, but then they're still going to have to pay a large percentage of wages anyway, it's a lot of wasted money. So they're going to be stuck with these dead weights of players that are in the 30s, aren't good enough, and on big wages for another couple of years somewhere. Because when you're flying up leagues as fast as they are, this is effectively the only negative side to it. Every 6 months, or every year even, half the squad that you've got is deemed not good enough because you're moving that fast. Coming into Championship, I think this is where the party ends. To do back to back to back to back, surely not. Like I said, I think it's quite a weak league down at bottom. And with right investment, which they're going to obviously do, they're going to be fine with these. I think they'll be in and around the mid-table top half-ish zone of about 11th, 12th-ish. Personally, is what I see for Wrexham. And that's with changing majority at side. There's parachute payments all over the place. Teams are making huge sales, like 10, 15 million pound plus a player sales. They're averaging 25,000 plus attendances every week, half at top end at league. I can't see them breaking straight into top 6 at first time we're asking in this division. The gaps get bigger the further you go up pyramid, and I think now they'll start to see it. You've got your 3 coming down, your playoff final loser, Coventry, Bristol City, Millwall, West Brom, Middlesbrough, Norwich maybe, Birmingham. There's a lot of sides there that I could see finishing above them. I think it'll be a couple of years before they get out, personally. Eventually they will, but I think it could be a couple of years till they get out of this league. But that's that, boys. Absolute pleasure. Love you all. Kiss. Thank you as always for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you do enjoy. One last message to Rob and Ryan. Please come by Barnsley. If you've got any mates with equal amount of money and ambition, send them to South Yorkshire, please. Thank you.
I say I'm a man. Yes, I'm a mucker. I think of me saying as a right good looker. I say up that. Show us bit it.